Hi, and welcome to SMAC Webinar number 3. So we do have a really nice program for you today. So we're just going to jump right into it, actually. Jaina, Megan, Peter, and Mike are all going to show you some cool stuff. Jaina, are you ready to show us about personalization?
Okay, so I am going to get right into it. Today we're going to talk about previewing and testing personalization after you've set it up. What are the steps you need to take from setting it up to go live? And what are the ways that you can ensure that your personalization is working? So first of all, the one that that is very easy to use and everyone should do it if they've ever set up personalization is just making sure that you're looking at your personalized components in Experience Editor. It's an easy way to test all the versions of your component, and you're able to quickly see things like, does your component have the right images in the right resolution? Do you have all your CTAs and your text areas filled out? So let me quickly show you what this looks like. Okay, so here's my carousel component. I can very easily switch into different versions of the component and just make sure that my different versions have all the appropriate content, the images, the CTAs, and test all of that before making it live. So this is a very easy way to ensure that your component is correctly filled out and all of the content within the component is working. All right. The next way is via Experience Explorer. So this allows you to make sure that your rules are working and that you're able to easily see what your page would look like to your audience once it's personalized. Profiling does throw a little bit of a wrench into Experience Explorer. It's not super easy to get the profiling to work. What you can do is set up presets to allow for that profiling to work, or you have to click on the different pages that have the profile card set up, and then you're able to see the profiled version of the page. Now, this will also give you a quick test on whether your profile cards are set up correctly on the expected pages as well. So here's a view of Experience Explorer. So I'm going to click on Explore here. And sometimes what might happen is Experience Explorer may not show up. So if it does, just make sure if it says normal, change that in your URL, change that to Explore. That will ensure that Experience Explorer comes up. And another important piece is if it does show up collapsed and you see these little gray bars on either side, just open them up like that. So on your left panel of Experience Explorer, you have the ability to set up the different rules, and on the right panel, you can see what your user is configured into and why they're seeing certain things. So as you can see now, this is default. If I were to go in here and trigger the social foodie campaign, for example, this is now going to change to the foodie carousel item, and right here we have the foodie carousel item triggered. In terms of profiles, Experience Explorer does allow you to manipulate the profile, but I will warn you that this doesn't work if you haven't triggered any profile. So, so what this allows you to do is once you've triggered a profile, you can change it by changing the values in here. All right, the next one is within optimization, you can basically get screenshots of your page that you could send to your stakeholders. If you have your Experience Editor version of your page set up well so that your page looks basically what it would look like in production, then you're good to go. Otherwise, your page may look a little bit like your Experience Editor version. So just something to keep in mind. So the way to do that is, let's go back into Experience Editor. And in here, if you click on the optimization tab and then personalization, you will be able to see the different personalized versions of your page. And up here, what's going to happen in a second is you'll be able to see a screenshot of this version of the page. So obviously this is way too small to send to anyone, but what you can do is open this image in a new tab, and here's the version of the page personalized, and you can open it up further to see what it would look like and potentially send this now to your stakeholders, etc., so they can see what the personalized version of the page looks like as well. All right. Finally, talking about testing. So now that you've made sure that your page looks right in all the different ways and your personalization is working, you get your personalized version of the page and the component live. But it's important to ensure that you're testing and tracking your personalization so that you know that it is working for your audience. So the first way is effect tracking, which 9.3 and above has this by default. You can turn it on or off, and what it does is test 10% of your users, and it's constantly testing. The issue is it only looks at EVS. So let me show you what that looks like. So here we have components. If I click on it and I go to personalization, you'll see that I do not have this turned on. Give me a second. That I did. Maybe I turned this off. Sorry, guys. But basically, yeah, in here you have effect tracking right here. So if you turn this on right here, you will get the personalized version of the component. You'll basically start to track the effect of the different components. The other way to test is actually to run a personalization test. So for that, what you want to do is turn off the effect tracking on all your different components and then go into setting up a test. So you can go in here and say create a test. And it's very similar to setting up an A/B test. This is actually, I would argue, better than effect tracking because it sends half your audience to the default or the next version that they match, and then half your audience sees the personalized version, and you can see which one's working. You can see it on more than just experience or engagement value score, but even on specific goals or specific pages, bounce rate, etc., it will give you details on all of that. So, it'll also tell you how many different versions it will take to get to your result. So, for example, you can see that I have all the different variations of the 4 components. I have 90 experiences. So that's potentially a lot of experiences. So what I can do here is to remove some of these and reduce the experiences. I don't have enough historical data to forecast, but those who, in a production environment, it will also tell you how long it's going to take to run this test and basically how long it will take to get the confidence level that you need. You can also decide how much of your audience is exposed to the test. You could say, like, I just want 75% of my audience or whatever that may be, and what kind of confidence level you're expecting. You can set up your minimum and maximum days for the test to run. You can set up the winner to win automatically or manually select. And again, you can set it up on more than just your engagement value. You can set it up on specific goals, etc., just like you would an A/B test in Sitecore. So here's the test that I have run, and you can see what the top goals are converted for each of the experiences that have won, the pages that they've gone to, and even things like bounce rate, your average duration on the page, the visit, the page views, etc. So there is a lot of data once you run an experience, a page test versus just running the effect tracking. But the effect tracking is a lot easier and a lot quicker to run. So this is a way to make sure that your personalization is working and giving you the results that you expect. All right, so that's all I had for today. Thank you guys for listening in to me. And here's my contact information if you want to learn more about personalization, analytics, any more on this topic on previewing and testing. I'm more than happy to talk more. I'm a Sitecore strategy MVP and have been doing Sitecore for almost 9 years now. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaina. And we are now going to go back to Sitecore, and the next we're going to see is my colleague Megan talking about the optimization readiness scan. So if you're ready, Megan, then I'm gonna make you presenter.
Okay, well, hello everyone. I'm really excited to share 2 new SBOSS resources with you guys today. The first, as Christian mentioned, is a set of interactive worksheets, an ebook, and a set of videos, which all together comprise the SBOSS optimization checklist series. And then the second is a set of short videos that have recently been released to accompany the pre-existing SBOSS marketing hacks ebook. But before we do that, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce myself. So, as Christian said, my name is Megan Engard, and I am a member of the SBOSS team based in Sydney. My title is Digital Optimization Specialist, which was previously the Marketing Technologist role, and I've been with the team since May of this year. So I put my details on the screen here, and I'd really love to connect with any of you after this session, so feel free to reach out. But let's go ahead and just dive right in. So first, as I said, I'm going to run through the SBOSS resource called the Optimization Checklist series. And this is a series of best practice processes for techs and marketers to get the most out of their Sitecore instance. So the entire SBOSS global team have put our heads together and created these checklists. And essentially, they are the SBOSS processed in to-do list form across an entire optimization program. You can access the full set at this link here. And before we get into each individual checklist, I'm going to go over some basic information. So first question we often get is, who exactly are these checklists for? And really, they do provide value for pretty much everyone. So strategists and marketers can use them to understand what research they need, whether their roadmap has everything that it needs, if everything has implemented correctly, and what they might need to continue onward with optimization. Developers should access the optimization readiness checklist in particular during build or code review to ensure that the platform will work for optimization. Customers can use them to prepare for an optimization program, to check if an old roadmap is up to date, or to check if their site is working the way that it should be. And partners can use them to update their SBOSS knowledge and as a QA tool for technical optimization capability. And then the checklists are also really useful at pretty much every stage of build. So whether you're on an existing site, if you're building a new site, or if you're upgrading, you really will find these as useful ongoing resources. So the last thing to be aware of before we dive into the checklist is that each checklist can be used independently, but they're built to build on top of one another if they're followed in order. So each checklist comes as an interactive Excel worksheet ready to complete as you go through. So at the top of each sheet, you'll have a space for information about the customer and the site that you're working with. And then it's broken down into sections with multiple items underneath. And for line items, there is a priority column, which is really variable depending on the organization. And then there's a status column. And the status column has a drop-down menu that you can indicate whether things are okay, not applicable, if you need more information, or if the item should be flagged and in need of a fix. And then finally, you have a comment section to add more details about what exactly you've encountered. So let's dive right into the checklist. So the first checklist in the series is for use during pre-roadmap phase of optimization. So it's basically going to help you understand the research roles and objectives required for your optimization program. And it includes 3 key sections, so strategy and context marketing, stakeholders and resources, and roles and governance. Next up is the roadmap readiness checklist, where you'll be verifying that your optimization roadmap has everything you need, including digital goals and an EVS, campaign activities and taxonomies, profiling strategy, customer segments, personalization tactics, and then organizational and governance elements. And then the third scan in the series is the optimization readiness checklist. And this one really is a bit special. So this is a checklist that we at SBOSS use and have been using for a while at the beginning of most, if not all, of our SBOSS engagements. So it's used to ensure that personalization and testing have not been impeded by any custom development and that there's no other technical roadblockers. So it does include the normal interactive worksheet, and this one has 5 sections where we cover experience analytics, experience profile, experience editor, the marketing control panel, and then personalization and testing. But then when we made these ones publicly available, we decided to also build out a number of resources to go alongside the interactive worksheet. So we have 5 step-by-step how-to videos where I walk you through exactly how to check each and every line item in the scan. The videos are broken down into the same 5 segments as the worksheet for easy use, and it also means that you can easily break this up and complete it over multiple sessions. Generally, I'd give about a half a day to complete the 5 sections all up, but that really depends on your comfort level with the Launchpad. And while devs and techs absolutely should use this scan, it does not require technical knowledge, and basically anyone who is comfortable with the key marketing tools accessible from the Launchpad can follow the instructions pretty easily. And then finally, we've created an ebook guide with important information on when to complete the scan, common issues we often encounter on customer projects like GeoIP not being mapped or testing workflows being missed, and a few links to some useful resources. So then the final note on this one is just that we really recommend that this checklist is used on every project, ideally during the build stage, but it can also be used after build. And we often advise our customers to use it as a quarterly or yearly check-in to make sure that updates, releases, new dev, etc., haven't hindered their ability to optimize. So the 4th checklist in the roadmap implementation checklist, this verifies that your roadmap is implemented correctly and the data you need is being captured. So it'll step you through activities required to implement and verify the foundational data points in a roadmap, as well as implementing quick win personalization and testing tactics. And the 5th and final checklist in the series is the ongoing optimization scan. So scaling an optimization program and continuing the momentum often requires some adjustments to your processes, your resourcing, and your operations. So this scan is really useful, and it walks you through some of the best practice for like high performance digital experience programs with items including how to adopt an agile experience process, regular tasks for your task force to undertake, and how to ensure that your program has continued momentum. So I know I've run through those really quickly, but this is the link, a reminder here for you again. But let's jump over quickly into the marketing hacks videos, and I'll just quickly run you through those. So the Marketing Hacks ebook is a resource that has been around for a while, and it has some really useful tips and tricks from the SBOSS team. Christian, my colleague in the US, Jonathan Corley, has now begun building out some short videos. They're about under 5 minutes each, and they detail how to use each of the hacks in the ebook. So far, there are 4 marketing hacks videos released, but Jonathan is continuing to develop these, so there'll be more added as time goes on. Sorry that this link isn't quite as pretty as the other one, but hopefully you'll get this deck at the end and be able to access that. So the first video that's out right now is linked items in the marketing control panel. In this video, Jonathan talks through the links button on the top ribbon and its uses for identifying where items in the content tree, marketing control panel, or media library have been linked or used across the site. The second video is about organization in the content tree. So when you get into active optimization, it can become really tricky to keep track of the components and content variations that you have. And Jonathan quickly talks through some of the SBOSS best practices for organizing personalization and A/B testing content. Really quick but really useful tips in this one. The third video looks at a really useful tool in Sitecore which allows you to group commonly used rule combinations. So they're called predefined rules, and they are frequently used in our SBOSS engagements. Jonathan talks through the steps to set these up, and they're really useful if you're using the same set of rules across multiple components or pages on the site. They can be changed easily without needing to edit every component using that rule combination individually. And then finally, the 4th video in this series shows you how to utilize marketing automation listeners or delay elements for personalization. And Jonathan particularly focuses on one rule where the contact is currently enrolled and waiting. So that one's really useful as well. That's it for the Marketing Hacks video. On the landing page at that link on the screen, you'll also have access to the full ebook in case you haven't seen that before. Definitely recommend taking a look. And remember to keep an eye on the landing page because, as I mentioned, more videos are currently in development. So that's it. Thank you guys for my time. And I'm going to go ahead and put my details back on the screen there. I'd love to hear any feedback that you have on anything that I've shared today. And with that, I will hand it back over to Christian.
I can hit the button here. Thank you very much, Megan. So the next we're going to do is that we are going to hear from Peter Clisby.
Cool. Hi, yeah, so my name's Peter Clisby. I'm Head of Site Core Engineering at Sagittarius Agency. So today I'm going to walk you through some engagement plans or marketing automation plans. So what I've got here is basically a test version of a sort of inbuilt Sagittarius website. We've got some really basic goals in place where we've just got, whether they're form completions, you can see here, contact us form, newsletter sign up, vacancy application, and a white paper. We've also got some other page view goals that you can kind of see. They're just generic parts of the site and parts of our funnel that we'd try and start someone with a blog that may then lead them to be someone applying for a role. So you can see there where someone may start on the blog article, and then hopefully they may move on to the Join Us page that you can see down the bottom here. And so what I really want to explain is how you can build marketing automation plans to almost track those paths, and you can do so on either a short-term or a long-term basis. So you can see here we've got the potential employee engagement plan. Just to caveat this, that this is completely fictional. This isn't currently in use on our production site. They've got a whole different setup. But you can see here where the start of my funnel is if someone has hit the Join Us page. You can also, whether you're selecting goals, events, or outcomes, that can be the beginning of your automation plan. You can also use the rules engine, so you can really configure that on whatever you wish. If you're a site beyond site called 9.1, you could use the marketing preferences and really configure that at a granular level. And as I say, you may have an automation plan you want to run for 1 week, or it may be for the whole year. So you can see here where I've used the tooling. There's a lot of the out-of-the-box features where you can, for example, add someone to a contact list, which is what I've done here. So instantly on someone viewing the Join Us page, I've put them into the prospective employees not applied list. I'm then looking for 10 days to see if they go and see a job description page. So effectively, any of our vacancies, if they've gone and viewed the details of that vacancy, they would then move into the yes category. So from then, I've got the form submission for a vacancy. So if they were to submit a form applying for that vacancy, I would then, as you can see here, I've unsubscribed them from the not applied list, and then if depending what they've done, if they haven't applied, I can send them an email if I wish. One thing to know is whilst you can send emails, personally I prefer to put people on lists and then make a judgment call before sending them an email, because once you've got an automation plan in place that's firing off emails, I think you need to think very carefully about that. So what I'm also able to do is, with my other engagement plans, I can move people onto a different engagement plan where necessary. So you can see here where, excuse me one sec, where you've got a prospective customers engagement plan. On here, I'm starting with various of our landing pages, whether that's about us, you can see on the right hand side here, about us, case study pages, key sector landing pages, or meet the team pages. On from there, that activates the engagement plan, and it will move us into whether they're going to go and see a service page, which would be potentially one of the services that we offer, whether that's engineering services or SBOS services or various other things. So depending on whether they viewed that within 20 minutes, I will then put them on to a list. And as before, these are, there's various things available that you can sort of switch people and pivot on depending what you're interested in. Hopefully then potentially they may complete a contact us form, which is almost the golden path, and in which case I'll put them on to a list where I'm calling them leads high potential. And then taking it that they don't, perhaps then I can be more granular about what I'm trying to figure out what they've exactly seen. So if they've seen a service page at this point, assuming that they didn't go down the golden path and immediately contact us, I can then use the rules engine where you can see here I've got where the contact has triggered the goal page view engineering service in the past 20 minutes. If they have, I can both add them to a contact list, which is more specific for engineering, or I can also move them into a different automation plan. So you see here where I've got moved them into a different automation plan. Something, a good example that I try and do sort of in progress is if I were to look for a goal triggered and I was saying, have they, for example, potentially they've viewed the Join Us page, I might look to only keep that running for 2 minutes. And I suppose that will be looking for, first of all, are they just randomly clicking around the site and, are they genuine leads or just clicking every page? So by looking for 2 minutes, it would pick that up. And equally, if they were genuinely going to the Join Us page rather than reading the article that they're viewing, I can then move them into my other campaign. So I might then say, okay, this will then remove them from this plan. They won't be considered in the funnel analytics, and I can say, okay, yes, then they're not a lead. They're more of a potential employee engagement plan, and then I can apply that and save. And then, as you can see, that will almost enable me to move people into the appropriate engagement plans, and then also ensure that this is kept filtered down to people who are prospective customers rather than people who are, as I say, clicking around the site or potentially gone down the wrong path and they're actually interested in a vacancy. So from there, you can see that I should have a third plan where this is our, again, fictional, but it's my content engagement plan where I'm looking for people who have seen either a blog article, an author page, which are the blog authors, or a news article that may be talking about something that we're interested in. Again, this is where I've already done this previously, where I've got our Join Us page. If within 2 minutes of reading the article, they go and click on the Join Us page, I can move them into that appropriate engagement plan and ensure in the same way that people on this path are engaged in the content. So you can then see where I've got other goals, which may be in this case it is, and in fact this should be a decision point. It's a mistake. It should be a decision point to say, have they signed up in the previous 2 years? And if they have signed up in the previous 2 years, I can put them on another list, effectively called returning reader, where I can kind of conclude this particular contact is not just reading the content for the first time, where I'd be hoping they'd sign up. It's someone who's previously signed up, and then I could move them into another plan, which is almost targeting engaged users, repeat visitors to the site, and I can funnel them differently. If they haven't signed up in the past 2 years, I can then monitor whether or not they complete a form for the newsletter sign up, where if that's, I suppose, what we're trying to get contact with our site visitors, and then depending on whether they sign up, if yes, I can send them an email. an appropriate email for someone who's signed up, maybe referencing something custom about that context, some, as I say, marketing preference or whatever else that could be. And then if no, I add them to a different list, which is effectively unsubscribed blog readers, where I can kind of start building up lists for my different email marketing campaigns that might be looking for what is this user's website activity, and you know, what type of content might we target them with if at some point they've consented, given us their details, and allow us to contact them. So yeah, as I say, that's a really rough overview of marketing automation plans, and how, you know, that's something we try and do on the live site. Is the marketing team will sort of try and target very specific funnels. Maybe they'll have a campaign that's running over a 2-week period. You can, as I've said before, you can configure the time period that it's going to run for, and in that regard, you can then monitor that over a very specific period, and then it enables us to build these lists up so we can target very specific email campaigns. I won't go in depth into the reporting, but ultimately what the reporting enables you to do is at each stage of your funnel, it will tell you, say for example, you've had 500 visitors in this period who have gone into the content engagement plan. It will then tell you out of those how many were moved and how many were moved into the potential employee engagement plan. And, you know, effectively how many people of those original figure have gone down each stream. And then as that filters down, obviously the numbers will get smaller. There might be, you know, if we were starting with 300, there might be 50 of them have gone down this join us path, leaving 250 to go down here. Then if we said it was a 50-50 split, it would be 125 have gone down that path and 125 have gone down this path. So the reporting, as I say, enables you to get a really granular view of these marketing campaigns that you're doing on whether they're on a long-term or short-term basis. And then something that I think is really powerful, if you can be building this up and, you know, using tools like you've got increase engagement value. So say for example, I'm saying, okay, they've signed up in the past 2 years and they've come back, so I'm going to say increase their engagement value by 10, let's say, and then on all other aspects of the analytics, this information and this data will feed into that. So whether you're using Path Analyzer or any other feature, you'll then build up that engagement value. You'll be able to personalize on this information. You know, for example, set a personalization rule depending on if a contact is in a given engagement plan. And so I think it needs a lot of thought on the website, what's appropriate for a given website. But I think it's an underused tool that's really useful for empowering all other aspects of the analytics. So in the interest of time, I think that's all from me. So I'll pass you over back to Nicholas.
Thank you very much. And even though my name is Christian, I will take it anyway.
I realised that as soon as I said it. Apologies for that.
That's perfectly fine. So we have just one presenter left. So Mike Marquette.
Cool. So hello, everyone. I'm Mike Marquette, and I'm a designer and a technologist. And what I want to share with you today are some tools and tactics that are quite lo-fi. And I use them when working with our stakeholders to help provide a bit of a clearer digital transformation journey. Now, someone once told me a designer is basically someone that's really skilled in understanding people and quite often shaping behaviours. So by that definition, I guess all of us here today are really designers, but I've noticed that what separates the good from the really outstanding practitioners is one key trait. We all know that it's empathy. Now, one reason that's important is that sometimes, well, in fact, a lot of the time, we use a lot of weird words. It almost sounds like a bit of a different language, and definitely some strange ways of working as well. So I've seen that create some friction in organisations, some irritation and a bit of disconnection where it's not always needed or ideal. Now, the worst case, I think, is a little bit of this. And a quick search revealed that cognitive dissonance is basically the way some of us respond to new concepts, and it's typically experienced as a bit of mild psychological stress. So how can we improve the way that we work with SMEs and get the best out of our brains trusts? Well, I was thinking maybe there's a design language we could use to build a little bit more common ground and translate some of our expertise into the less technical world. So here's a few ideas. Look, I reckon talking is really great for sharing information, but visualization can be the way to go for inspiring new concepts and sharing ideas. So in the design and UX world, we live and breathe prototypes, and it's usually the low fidelity ones that reveal the bigger ideas and gaps in our thinking and the possibilities. So why can't we use some of these really lo-fi techniques with other areas of digital experience, those that anyone could really understand? So what's worked for me is developing these cute little visual toolkits that we use as a base to really mirror some of the elements that we want to create. Now, there's only a handful of categories, to be honest, and I think they really come down to action events like goals, areas and elements like landing pages or forms on the site, the pathways and directions like, say, a re-engagement tactic we want to use. There's channels and attributions, of course. Maybe we want to measure those, how we generate traffic and things like social. And of course, our profile groups. So the aim is really rapid iteration with the least technical stakeholders very much in mind. So I know you're all wondering, what are we doing? What is this, sort of flow diagram, or is it a very sort of complex multivariate? Well, it can be either, of course, and it depends on the problem that we're trying to solve. However, today I want to focus on the flow and really some more organic elements that help us collaborate and generate ideas. So I reckon even the most complex digital ecosystems can be simplified into maybe 3 or 4 parts, but it's basically the view from space. But they'd be number one, our attributions, like I said, our channels and the traffic generating properties that we may want to measure. Number 2, the site properties themselves, what design elements are key, what experiences and nurture pathways do we want to create. The data, so of course our EVS and any other measurements that we want to set up with profiling, pattern matching, all the things we know. And then, of course, our profile group. So it's just a simplified framework of all the component parts. So it kind of works like this. We start with a very low fidelity kind of infographic with some very, very basic building blocks representing the same thing. Now, the next step is organising a bit of a jam session with your stakeholders. So get out the marker pens or crayons or whatever you like. Now, I gave myself about 5 minutes as a test to build this one out. So no jokes, please. It's messy, but it definitely works. So what I want to look at here is our traffic sources on the left. So look, if we've got taxonomy sorted, if we've got SC tracking codes set up, on the home properties, could we leverage from GeoIP? Is there any campaign messaging we can use rules to trigger? Even better, can we drive people further into the site with some custom landing environments, that kind of thing. Then we move over to what I call the MTTM, the main things to measure. So of course that's our goals and site actions with our EVS. Are they on point? Do they need some adjusting? And then of course our profile groups. Where are we seeing activity and pattern matches? What do we want to focus on? What's appropriate at that point in time? Now, from a stakeholder point of view, I know that some are thinking, what's in this for me? So it's a very good question. Now, I wanted to just stop here to make the point that when your digital goals are crystal clear, and you get this from working with smart people like Megan, it's through something like things like the strategic framework objectives or EVS. It makes it a lot easier to talk the same language as our stakeholders. And for one thing, you can overlay some of their own KPIs, and it just helps with that buy-in and engagement. Now, for that, I think campaigns are really great opportunities to engage. Now, this is rapid prototyping. Don't forget, these are quick iterations. Now, here's the bare bones of, let's say, a mainly digital type campaign, and we want to drive specific traffic to our offering pages. So we're using some social channels, and there's a little bit of print in there as well. So we've really got the usual suspects. Now, we're going to think inputs and outputs and some gap analysis here. So like I said, 5-minute job. We've got the attribution tracking. So let's check that our channels are actually pointing to the site. And we've got some print media. So we may want to isolate that traffic and of course build out a clone of the original landing page. We've got some forms here on these dedicated landing pages. So we might want to trigger some marketing automation, as Peter went over. Do we want to add people to a list? Can we increase engagement scoring? Can we send them a welcome email? There's lots we can do there. Now, when we get through to the transactional side, what happens with an abandoned cart scenario? So we're going to quickly need to come up with some re-engagement work there. But let's say we've converted and our customer's gone through that entire pathway. We're going to want to serve a thank you page and maybe some profile cards on there to get a little bit more information. And maybe even, if we're lucky, re-engage them back to our main site properties with some articles or next best actions, related products, things that they might be interested in. So there's the real basics, but let's keep layering it up. We've got to attach our profile cards. Let's make sure that we've got some click goals tracking some of that profiling activity. And of course, a big click goal, a very high value engagement score on, of course, that point of transaction. Maybe some lower page goals, some lower value page goals on some of the original landing pages to show intent. And that's basically it. Oh, and that re-engagement tactic. What if we used a similar strategy to our thank you page, but we took a sorry couldn't help you this time maybe approach, but tried to re-enlist people into that same content pathway again. So there's a quick way to actually explain it to really anyone can understand. And that's my first draft, so be kind. Now, we all know content fuels great digital experience. So how do we ensure that our SMEs and brains trust in the organization are contributing and aligning to a specific purpose? So look, sometimes I use this territories-based approach as a way to reframe the problem. And all it is just grouping and prioritizing content to see if it could be effective. Are we easy to engage with as a digital channel? We're communicating relevancy and trust. Now, if we break it down, if we zoom out to make it easy, prove it, and help me out. If businesses are doing well from a content perspective and structure, we're probably going to be in the game. Now, yet again, a quick iteration, and let's take one profile at a time and try and align some of the content and messaging we need to serve from top of funnel down. So on the left, I've got in this case, make it easy. It's just information. What can we do to become a better business to deal with? How can we group and serve more relevant information and where? And help me on the right is common actions per pattern, really. How do I get access to what I need? And prove it is, of course, all about our thought leadership, our insights, and what's timely and relevant for that segment in terms of topic. Are there segments that need more content or just different? Do we have the traffic volumes to actually support it and map patterns against them? So what I've learned through using some of these tools and building out far more complex ones as a result is that visualization works great for inspiring ideas and this low fidelity collaboration piece. A test, learn and optimize approach for sure, but remember that also builds trust, because it's the smaller and much more agile marketing tactics that add up to the biggest difference. Start simple, tackle one at a time, but most importantly, show them off and go again. Try a classic pop quiz. I did this the other week, and just for fun, just see how people are going, generate a bit more discussion. And finally, ideate, iterate, and irritate. Some of us are better at that than others, but it seems that there really is no such thing as a dumb question, and sometimes challenging what we think we know is a really, really good thing. I think all of our challenge is creating an inclusive environment that's full of what if and could we try type questions. So I hope some of these basic tools have helped you out with that today. Thanks all.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. And we are now, of course, at the end of the presentations, and thank you very much to all of you guys, Jaina, Megan, Peter, and Mike. And we're now going to open it up more for questions. So if you have a question, you can post that in there. You can raise your hand, or whatever you want to do. Throw it in the chat if you want to. There are many different possibilities of asking questions, but of course, if there are no questions, I see Rick said thank you. That, I guess that's not really a question as such, but we unless there are any questions specifically to the content or to SMAC in general, then yep.
I think there's one in there for me, Christian, which I can answer now. I'm happy to type it in as well, but it was just asking if the resources that I mentioned in mine were free to Sitecore customers, and the answer is absolutely yes. So both of those links that I shared during my presentation, they do have a gateway where you need to put in some information, so your basic contact details. But once you get through that, all of the resources are free to download and use for anyone. So not just Sitecore customers, potential customers, anyone kind of with access to the link.
That is true. So, Jaina, there was also a question on whether Experience Explorer is available in version 9.2.
Yeah, Experience Explorer is actually available in all versions from Sitecore 8 onwards. You just have to click that Explore button in the view panel. So just switch it from your editing view over to Explore view. And if that doesn't work, like I said, just change it from normal to Explore in the URL, and you should be able to look at your content via Experience Explorer.
Thank you very much. If there are any other questions, then you can throw them in the chat. And I think that was actually it for the questions that have come in. Does SMAC have a mailing list? We do, and let me actually just show you some stuff here, because you can get in touch with us fairly easily. There's a lot of things we can do. I'll get to the contact details in a minute, but we will have a webinar soon. So we are looking for people that want to speak, just as you've just heard the four guys here. And if you are looking, I know that we basically just came out of symposium, but if you are looking to have a case that you want to present, or specific things that you feel would be beneficial to talk about regarding the next symposium, then please reach out. and we are more than willing to help you with anything like that. Also, I don't know if everybody here participated in the meeting that we had yesterday for SMAC, but we are definitely also available to help with producing content or giving input on production of blogs or articles or anything like that. I don't know if you know who is in the little committee, but it is me, Christian from EMEA, and then there's Alison in APJ, and then Jax, Amanda, and Jill in the Americas. So I see that Frederick have asked around whether or not all the material can be available, and we will have everything available. So everything that's that SMAC produces is definitely available for your use. But if there are no questions related to the presentations, then I am going to say thank you for this time, and I hope to see you again when we have the next webinar, and I hope you have a wonderful evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you might be.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks, Christian.
Thanks. Bye.
Goodbye.